folks, welcome to Pro Trader Strategies Market Commentary for Monday, April 19th. I'm Eric Wilkinson, and you very well may recognize me from mainstream media, where I've talked about the economic data, the geopolitical environment, and how those actually come in to impact the markets with some of my market analysis. I'm going to do the same thing in my daily market commentaries here, but I'm also going to talk about option strategies I implement into my portfolio based on the directional assumptions I come up with. For you folks, what we've done is streamline that process for you guys to find the option strategy that fits your directional assumption out there. So we know that there's a lot going on with these underlyings. There's a lot going on with options, and it can be intimidating. But like I said, I've streamlined that process, and I go through these webinars in a way that I think that you'll understand options intuitively by the end of it. All right, because we're dealing with logic. So, all right, without further ado, just check those out. We'll talk about the economic data, well, really quickly. The only thing really to talk about, because it's a Monday, we don't get economic data here in the United States, generally speaking. We did get Canadian housing starts, and they knocked it out of the park. 335,000, expected to be 254,000. Now, I don't talk about Canadian economic data that much because it's not really a global mover, but that's a pretty good sign of our area and what we're seeing. So it's continuing on in Canada as well. So good to see that. All right. Now, let's talk about the markets because we've got a lot going on here. I mean, there's a Tesla warning today, Peloton, a lot of people we'll talk about here going forward, and a couple of things that I'm looking at in my portfolio. But crude oil moving a little bit higher here today. We've got bonds, down 10 points. I'm a bit surprised here that they aren't moving a little bit higher and pushing through this 200-day simple moving average that we have here. Or sorry, this is the 50-day simple moving average. We bumped up against it a couple of times in the last 3 days. And today, I thought we might get through that. With the equities showing some weakness here, it just feels like the equities, at least this early in the morning, feel a little heavy. Now, are we going to see a turnaround Tuesday? A lot of the stocks that I think that should be doing well aren't really. Like some of these reopening trades. Now, I've talked about this a couple of times. I think that we are going to start seeing the roaring 20s where people have cabin fever and are going to start flying. But we're seeing the airline industries struggle a little bit. We're seeing the casinos, which I would think that would do well right now, weaken a little bit. The online casinos like Gumble that I've talked about many times. PENN, who with Arizona just opening up sports betting online, that should do well for these companies. Well, we're just not seeing that strength right now. And it could be because we're heading into earnings. We're seeing some profit taking going into that. But right now, there's a couple of things that might be on the chopping block for me. And I'm going to be keeping a close eye today and probably pull the ripcord if we start seeing any more weakness, because I've got a pretty itchy trigger finger right now at this point anyway. So without further ado, let's get on with some talk of, Coinbase was really driving this market, and I think there was a little euphoria ahead of this. Doge, which you guys is a joke. It's not a real coin. It's not limited. It's basically an NFT. So however many of those non-fungible tokens you're buying, there's no limit to it. Where at least Bitcoin there is. Bitcoin is suffering across the board with the rest of the digital currencies today. Doge holding up rather well for really not having any value. It's just basically, if you're heard of Fortnite, you're buying V-Bucks or something like that you could only, and at least you can use V-Bucks. You can't use Doge. All right, so gold futures are coming off a little bit here, making a top. Now, it was very short-lived looking at testing that 1800 level there. We came up quite shy of that and are really starting to see some weakness. And it's across the board. I think it's like feeling like we're raising capital, or we're putting money into cash right now, it seems like, across the board. VIX moving a little bit higher here on the day. NASDAQ is coming off, as you can see here, topping pattern on Friday. Today, confirmation of that. Now, we haven't seen any major confirmations, but right now with this settlement as where we are, we would be below this Fibonacci, this 123 Fibonacci extension I have here. Now, a settlement below that would really start making this feel like we are going to go back down and test these old trend lines that we have set up from 2017, 2018. Now, I think that might very well be the case. We've got it lined up with the 200-day or the 50-day simple moving average. So I think that might be a place we revisit if we start seeing this market settle below that Fibonacci. Now, remember, I've been talking about this a while now, so it's not a surprise that I said that I think that we're going to continue to see these types of moves in the market and not necessarily go anywhere, where this area is going to be like where we look at for like swing type trades. And I think that we're going to kind of see that. We might go a little bit higher, but I think that we're going to see some of these corrections that feel very volatile, but it's not really volatile in the overall aspect of like a 10-20% correction in the market. We're going to see these smaller incremental type of corrections back and forth throughout the rest of this year before we really see the the real openings, because a lot of things are priced in nicely. We're not seeing the moves as like Disney opened up in California only to Californians, but at that end of the day, they are opening up and things are starting to, look promising anyway. And we got the Dow Jones Industrial Average off 160 points. Again, confirmation of a topping pattern if we continue to see this weakness throughout the day. E-mini S&Ps, very similar pattern across the board. Not normally what we would see as a top, like it's not a spinning top doji. It's not, a shooting star, any of those things. It's just usually what we would consider this type of candle is a continuation pattern candle. But today with this weakness is making it feel like it is a bit of a confirmation here of a top, and a lot of breaking down of patterns inside of other stocks is really making me believe that this is feeling a little bit heavy for the near term. Now, tomorrow we get a turnaround Tuesday. I hope that's what we get, but I, at this point, don't really feel like that's what we're getting set up for. And you can see weakness throughout the day today, getting this value area, pulling down and settling the entire value area below what Friday's value areas were, would start making this look very bearish. Now, we already have a point of control a little bit below where we saw on Friday. Not real huge acceptance of value at lower levels, but it is getting pulled down, and throughout the day, if we continue to see this weakness, we could see that entire paradigm start to pull to the lower levels here, and just no signs of strength as we are just trudging lower today. All right, PENN, like I said, it is on the chopping block, breaking below. We don't have a Fibonacci here, but it is breaking below this area of support and resistance, which just happened to line up with that psychological level of about 100. But we are really breaking down, and ever since Portnoy's, raising the valuation of the stock to $20 billion, from $2 billion, really caused this market's demise at that point, and that's right around when we were trading around 142. And I did get that inkling and raise the back of the hairs on my neck, or my hairs on the back of my neck, I should say, and probably should have seen that as a sign originally, but I've been riding it out as I lowered my overall cost basis to zero and actually into about a negative $1.50. So have I fallen in love with this? I try not to fall in love with stocks, but these are a couple that I have kind of fallen in love with. And it is a day of reckoning where the chopping block is looking like it could be a very sure thing for PENN and Gumble breaking down. We found a bottoming pattern here on Friday, was pretty confident today. We have broken below this, and since I've started this market commentary, we've probably dropped it close to another 20 cents and near the lows of the day. So a breaking below this 38 Fibonacci is not a good thing. It looks like we are going to now revisit this $7.61 here, as the broader markets for this gaming space is not looking good. Gumbel, I think, is a great buyout opportunity for somebody like GameStop. But at the end of the day, I am a trader, and I'm not going to sit around and wait for these guys or pray for these guys to do something like that. I'm going to think about my portfolio in the here and now, and this is something that is looking to get axed today. So I haven't done it yet, but you know, looking pretty sure at this point. All right, that's all I got for you folks. I hope you guys take a moment to smash that like button for me. It really helps. You aren't limited. There's no Bitcoin limitation. It's like Doge, they aren't limited. All right. Also, take a moment to go over the disclaimer at the end of this. That's all I got for you folks. Other than, if you can't take that, take it easy.